Kaur and I am here to present the topic Geolocation for the fall 2021 semester as my midterm project. So let's begin. So what is geolocation? Geolocation is a way to find out the geographic position of the user by gathering data from various sources. The devices that can be used to track the specific position of the user and let them to navigate to different parts of the globe. Geolocation is basically based on collecting the data through GPS on the device and cellular network. Several functions are available on basis of geolocation, just like Find My iPhone. It uses the geolocation to trace the location of the lost iPhone. Also, when we travel to some other places or arrive at a new city, our phone starts showing some notifications of nearby restaurants. So, what's that feature? It's the geolocation features that allows businesses to reach you. Geolocation basically tracks better with good transmission signals, which means that if the data is slow, the position tracing will not be accurate. Sometimes there can also be a question that can geolocation feature track the person anywhere? Well, if you are traveling without any device that has no transmission of cellular network or access to internet, then your location will not be tracked. So, after we have learned what is geolocation, let's see how it works. So, geolocation feature is based on IP address. What it means? It means that each and every device on the internet has an IP address, and based on the user, like based on which the user can be identified for the browser request. For example, if we know the IP address, we can identify the city, country, and location of the user. IP address also turns out to be helpful in case of cyber crimes. When any kind of request is sent to a website in browser using internet, then our IP address is also sent, and it helps to identify the user sending the request. So when the result is ready by the website, then the result is sent to our IP address. So it helps in routing the request and rerouting the results. Geolocation has four methods of location tracing. So basically geolocation data breaks down into four categories. First one is geocoding. It's the process of associating a specific address with coordinates on map. Suppose when I open a Google map, it shows me a marker at current address. So it's basically through geocoding. Next is the georeferencing or geopositioning. It's a process of determining the geographical position of an object. It's basically via GPS data that we get to know the information of the object, like for example car navigation systems. So the data can be used in real time or even can be stored for the later purposes. Next is the geotagging. It's a process of adding geographical location information to a media file such as photos, videos, websites, and social media posts. Like for example, Facebook has a feature of checking in with a location tracing. So we basically tag our location, and that's the check-in part in our Facebook. Next is the Instagram feature. Like the Instagram post, when we are putting a Instagram post, we can use tags to tag a location. Next is the geofencing. It's a process of defining a geographically bound area that allows the advertisers to target customers. So we have already seen sometimes that whenever we enter a new city or new place where we have crossed our own city and we get to next city, so we receive certain notifications like this restaurant is top in this city. So there are various options available. So that's due to geofencing that businesses are able to promote to the potential customers their their services. Now let's talk about risk associated with privacy. On average, each home has 10 devices, and tracking is done by comparing the positioning of all the devices. Like we are compared, we are tracked using the comparison of the devices, like whatever we are carrying with us. So the precise location of an individual is tracked, and that's breaching our privacy. Various devices like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, fitness watches, mobile phones, tablets, and laptops are being used to identify the location of the individual. And as a result of which, we need some laws like CPRA to get consent. But yet, we need to be aware of our own privacy because it's a location, we are giving access to it, and then we need to be aware of how it's being controlled. Permission is necessary to access services of some application, which means like whenever we are installing some apps like Google Maps, weather forecast, so they're using the current location to provide us better services. Again, still we need it as a part of our daily routine, but this is something that is hindering our privacy and it's intruding to our daily life. We are being tracked, we are being watched each and everywhere. Also, sometimes what happens is with our location tracing, we can be tracked of our habits, like where we go, how what we like professionally, personally, like where we like to travel and where we often go. So there can be some kind of crimes that exist due to this, and again, that's threat to life even apart from being threat to privacy. The next one is the location that's being tracked through geolocation feature. It's being shared with mobile phone carriers, operating systems, applications, ISPs, that's the service providers, employers, and third parties. So, what we get to know is that even our data is being shared, our location is being shared with these authorities. So of course our privacy is in danger because we are tracked by so many people, and even our data can be misused and it can be used for some serious crimes sometimes. We often hear that selling of data by companies for the purpose of some monetization is very common. Like we see certain leaks each and every day, or certain database hacking each and every day, that it's it's common that companies sell data for their own purposes. So again, it's hindering our privacy and it's intruding into our lives. So if our data is being shared, geolocation data, so it's a live activity that is being shared. So a profile can be built on that, and we can be influenced sometimes in some way through this feature. Also, our data is sold to businesses, and it is used for basically providing us better services, but it's again intruding into our privacy, and we are being watched each and everywhere, and it can be used against us in any way. Also, if I talk about certain websites and applications we are providing our consent to for using our location, they are basically um, buggy sometimes. So what happens is that their databases are hacked, and location data can easily be stolen from them, and that leads to a huge danger to our privacy because Our location is something that's being tracked each and every second, and if it's being stolen, that it means our every activity is being watched. And due to this thing, a lot of crimes can occur. And even if someone wants to kill someone, so it's like you get to know what place they are visiting and where you can find them actually. So it can be like really dangerous. Next is the impacts of technology. Of course, each and every technology has positives and negatives too. So, here we'll talk about positives and what are the advantages of geolocation. So, it's more helpful to people to navigate. So, it's the ease of navigation, like people are able to travel to the places or the destinations even they have not been before, and it's easy to travel to places where you do not know anyone and you need to go somewhere. Next is more software are being built upon the technology. It means like the over the geolocation feature, more and more apps are coming that are using location and they are providing some better services. Just like weather forecast, we can say that it uses location to provide information about how's the weather, what's the humidity, what's the ultraviolet rays level, and when it's gonna rain and how the day is going to be and what's the temperature is going to be. So all that. Also the businesses can reach their targeted customers, because whenever we travel to a new city, if we are getting notification like this is the best restaurant of the city, then if we are hungry, most probably will tend to go there and visit that place and have a dinner or breakfast or lunch over there, and that's going to provide profit to the business or restaurant that we are visiting to. It also helps to identify frauds, because when we are doing cyber crimes, like when there is any cyber crime, so at that time our IP address, it's basically what what helps to identify that where the fraud has taken place. So geolocation is a feature that helps to identify frauds, and even sometimes it can help to prevent those frauds. Negatives. So what are the disadvantages of this technology? It's like always a surveillance over us. Basically we are being watched each and every time. I'm sure no one wants that, because we need our privacy, we need some space on our own. Next is our data is being stolen. So how our data is being stolen? Because each and every activity, like where we are moving each day and what places we are visiting, that each and everything is captured. So it's basically some data that we might not want to be shared with anyone, but it's being shared. Another is the criminal offenses. The criminal offenses can be committed because the data that might be used against an individual to commit some kind of crime, that's dangerous, right? Now we are going to discuss the case study. It's a case study based on ethical consideration and the use of GPS based movement tracking in health research. Lessons from a care seeking study in rural West India. So it's basically based on West India. So, what was in this case study? It was basically the GPS movement recording of women, and what happened was they were given mobile phones, and their movement activity was recorded by a GPS, and a tracker named application was installed on their phones to track their movement. Basically, their movement from home. to healthcare center was recorded, and apart from that, the whole movement was made anonymous or removed. So here are some of the considerations while while tackling with the situation to record their movement. The women in rural area lacked awareness and all the technical stuff was explained to them in simple language. Even the consent form needed to be kept simple and in local language. So another challenge was to maintain the anonymity of data because it was a location that was being tracked, and of course no one wants to be watched and recorded like where they went and when they went. So it was the anonymity that was maintained to protect the confidentiality and privacy of the individual, and the location data was processed and anonymity was maintained. The participants had certain suspicions like they were being watched every time, they felt like they are being watched every time, and they were more concerned about their um, privacy because their each and every moment was being tracked. Another concern was that the data of visits to other sites than other than home and healthcare was to be processed and removed. So it was done in careful um, environment, and the data anonymity was maintained. Another thing that was a challenge was the accuracy of data because sometimes the women just passed from the side of the healthcare, and they were considered to be like sitting in the healthcare, and there was no differentiation between the women sitting inside the healthcare and women passing side by the healthcare. To conclude the topic, I would say that it's always better to protect yourself whenever it's possible because um, we cannot eliminate this technologies from our life, but we can reduce the effect of being watched through these technologies. So always turn your location off whenever it's not needed, and also turn all access features off like access to photos, microphone or any other camera, so as to ensure privacy as there is increase in such technologies, and there will be more technologies coming up in near future, so it's better to save ourselves and be secure for upcoming and present scenario. So thank you, that was my topic. Thank you for listening.